Prevention is a big deal in community psychology, and in other disciplines, and that is because it is always more efficient to prevent illness and suffering than it is to treat it. Preventing something is often the goal of community interventions, and it can be primary prevention, secondary prevention, or tertiary prevention. Primary prevention happens at the earliest point in time and it is applied to the population broadly, before signs of distress are present. Suppose we want to prevent childhood obesity. An example of primary prevention for childhood obesity could be to make sure physical education classes are funded in the public school system, and to advocate for positive healthy imaging in mass media. Secondary prevention happens with so-called at-risk groups, in order to hopefully prevent further decline or distress. An example of secondary prevention for childhood obesity could be to identify so-called at-risk children, perhaps those whose older siblings are obese, and to target those younger siblings with education and supplementary nutrition funds and counseling. Another example of secondary prevention would be to map out where the food deserts are, which makes it so families cannot access healthy affordable food near their homes, as we know that this contributes to childhood obesity, and so eliminating food deserts is secondary prevention for childhood obesity in a way that does not blame the victim. And then tertiary prevention is basically treatment, aimed at preventing some of the suffering but folks are already experiencing the problem. An example of tertiary prevention is treatment, and so that's whatever service or interventions are put into place to support children with obesity becoming more healthy. There is one more distinction when it comes to prevention, and that's about whether you are making a first-order change or a second-order change. First-order change is prevention that just works at the individual level, and results in changing out the faces of those suffering from the problem, but does little to reduce incidence of the problem. Second-order change is prevention that makes structural changes, the goal of which is to reduce overall incidence of the problem. So, with the childhood obesity example, targeting the kids whose older siblings were obese, that was first-order change, and individualistic in focus. Finding and eliminating the food deserts, that was second-order change, and more aligned with a community psychology orientation. What is community psychology? Check out the 10 core principles, explained by us.